So often on our business journey, we have been self reliant for so long that it is challenging to break those chains, challenging to stop working as the world works and to stop doing business as usual. What we can see and what we can calculate and what we consider progress and productivity is all based on ourselves. So Simon and Andrew go out to fish. They're out there all night. They're catching nothing. James and John, the sons of Zebedee and their father, are out there fishing with them, and they're coming up empty until Jesus steps in. Well, let me tell you a little bit about this casting net. So this way of catching fish, there's a net and it's thrown out in such a manner that it spreads out while it's in the air before it sinks into the water. It's said that casting is best done in waters free of obstructions. So they were in this lake, free of obstructions. Perhaps it was very deep in the scene. They're using a very long oar to move the boat along. So the reeds are that could cause tangles, and branches that could catch up in the nets are very, very deep, we can assume. And so the line is thrown out into the water where nothing can get in its way. The line is thrown out not using one hand but using both hands in a circular motion, not as in hammer throwing. Hold that thought for just a minute. And the net can be cast from a boat, from the shore, or by wading into the water. Friends, here's why I want you to hold those thoughts. When we are caught up in self-reliance, when we are wading into the water, or maybe feeling like we're drowning in the water and we don't see help, could it be because we have turned off the volume to our Lord's word? Could it be that we're like Simon and thinking we have to do it all in our own strength and we've pushed God out of the way? So the first thought that I asked you to hold on to was that this is done in waters free of obstruction. So what obstructions have we allowed around us that are obstructing us from being in consistent worship and communication with the Lord, that has turned off the volume in our ears to his truth? And therefore, we're either not asking for help or we're throwing out a net, but it's getting caught up in the weeds. Maybe this is the words of others, or the cares of the world, or the unbelief, or the distrust that we have of the Lord because we just haven't seen him move lately, or we see him moving for someone else, right? The second thought that I asked you to hold on to was that this net is thrown out with both hands. How often are we asking the Lord partially for his help, or only partially showing up? We're not opening both hands to lift our burdens to him, to ask for his help, but instead we're keeping our hands closed as if we're in fighting position, right? Throwing that hammer or trying to hammer things into place or hammer things our way and make it work out, when we need to be opening our hands and casting our net to the Lord and asking him to help us and guide us. These are the 4 things that you can do. Number 1, be sure that you are in constant communication with the Lord, in worship with him. Number 2, are you seeking him first? Am I asking him and trusting him to fill this net? Number 3, when I seek him, am I listening? I saw someone post this the other day and it said it's hard to hear God's voice when you've already decided what you want him to say. And number 4, if you're listening, are you obeying? Have you done the last thing that he's directed you to do? Lastly, as we always say, I want you to remember that God made you ambitious, but he didn't make you to work the world's way. So I want to pray for and encourage you to cast out your nets, to tune out the world and its distractions, to tune into God's truth through worship, seeking, listening, and obeying.